Also, you can do this. This is a great hiding spot. They'll never find us here. Oh wait, no it wasn't. Hello everybody, my name is Bloody Elevator, and welcome back to Spyro Knights. A friend wanted some help on how to farm the rank mission, Dreams and Nightmares, for Radiance. So, let's get right into it. This rank mission can be challenging for first-timers, but as long as you take your time and pay attention to your surroundings in this rank mission, then you should be fine, in general. For my Dreams and Nightmare loadout, I usually focus on long-range weaponry, like firearms or explosives that can deal elemental, piercing, and or shadow damage. You can definitely use swords like the Combustor, Acheron, or anything else like that if you want. Just be careful not to have a Void Soul caught between your sword charge and the enemy that you plan to use it on. Sometimes you will also see players bringing weapons like the Metronome for crowd control while dealing normal damage, or the Ash of Agni to help reduce enemies' health by setting them on fire. And I feel like, for me, one of the more useful things that you can use here is the minimap, which I'll show you what the control is to open it. The default button is B, and I'll show you later how it can be useful here in Dreams and Nightmares. Now for the armor loadout, you want to use a shield with quite a bit of health to help you shield you from enemy attack. So something like the Iron Might shield would work here. But I use the Swift Strike Buckler here because I like the attack speed increase. As for the armor itself, you can use a Black Cat set for attack and movement speed increase. However, we don't have one at the moment, so I'll just have to work with my Chaos set. Now the weapons that I have equipped, and the ones that I just said, aren't the only ones that you can use. What matters most is that you bring in your strongest weapons that you're comfortable with using to help survive in Dreams and Nightmares. Now I was terrible at this rank mission too, when I started. I even made a video about it a while back ago, but I have improved over time, and eventually I found a loadout that suits my playstyle and works best for me. And I got asked by a friend to make a video on help on how to survive Dreams and Nightmares. So let's get started with this. When you're playing the rank mission Dreams and Nightmares, what you'll be doing most of the time is collecting keys, avoiding souls, pressing team buttons to fight enemies, and making it to the lift for the next level. Now the most important rule here is to keep running to avoid the souls, and minimize the amount of fighting if possible, as the enemies here do not drop anything, aside from hearts occasionally. Now here you will be facing a wide array of swarm enemies of varying weaknesses, like void gremlins, wolvers, slimes, and other enemies like that. So, unless you get locked into a room and have to fight, then it would be in your best interest to run and keep moving. Now the keys that you find in Dreams and Nightmares aren't the same keys that you're familiar with from the Clockworks. They look like this. And if you look at the minimap on the upper right, keys are often found in rooms of this particular shape. Or this shape. As you venture into Dreams and Nightmares, you'll get used to seeing rooms of that shape and realize that there's a key there, and possibly a locked door up ahead. However, not all doors need to be opened, because in this instance, I see a locked door in front of me, but if I peek on the minimap, you'll see that it's a dead end that usually has some sort of prize boxes ahead, containing a small amount of heat and crowns. And when that happens, I usually just take the key with me, just in case. Sometimes you'll run into another locked door ahead, and it'll save you at least a trip. Now I'll break open some of these prize boxes to show you what's inside them. Every time you'll always receive a small amount of crowns and heat, but usually they aren't worth getting, so normally I just avoid them. Sometimes a soul will rubber band itself onto you and explode. What you should do is shield, or go in the opposite direction. Here's an example on how the minimap function can be used here. There's a big room here with some choices of paths. I'll use the minimap here to take a peek ahead and see what is the best path for me. Now I do see a few dead ends here, but there is a key in this one room here, so I'll open this one. Also, you can do this. This is a great hiding spot. They'll never find us here. Oh wait, no it wasn't. Anyways, after the cutscene in the core, the first 2 levels are random, so you won't always get the same rooms every time. And I feel like most of the rooms that you get are pretty straightforward. But I did learn a few tricks in some specific rooms that might help you out here. If you see a red button that is surrounded by black enemy orbs, usually I just perform a shield bash on them to stun the enemies and press the button. Because usually the enemies will attack almost instantly after being released. If you find some gates that look like they can't be opened, the switches are usually nearby that can be opened by hitting them. If you find a room that looks like this, then once you press the team button, the doors will not open again unless you defeat all the gremlins. So when you're in a specific situation, try to focus on the gremlins, as all the other enemies will respawn. Now if you run into a room like this, there are 2 versions of this type of room. One where there's a team button, where there aren't any switches, but instead you have to fight some enemies. Or this version, where you have to destroy some black orbs, and hit the blue orb, in order to hit some switches to open the gates. But there is a shortcut here. Firing off a gun charge here should be able to hit that switch there. And, again, for the one above it. If you wind up coming from the north side of the room that is like this, it should still work. And that should be the general idea on how to survive the first few rooms in Dreams and Nightmares. Now, onto the last room, before you claim your radiance. Thankfully, this specific floor is not randomized, but you will have to go through quite a few enemies before you get to the lift. Just do your best to get to the rooms up ahead. Shield and dash as necessary, while trying to avoid taking any damage if possible, as the rooms up ahead can be quite dangerous. For this first part, try to avoid fighting any enemies. Instead, try to focus on the red buttons that are on the floor. Let the enemies focus on Valen instead. However, just be careful because sometimes Valen can send the enemies flying towards you while they're in the middle of an attack. Once you see the yellow arrows on the floor, get moving upwards. Now this is the part where you're gonna have to take your time and pay attention to what is happening around you, because there's going to be a lot of stuff happening on screen. The first thing you should do is hit all the blue spheres, as well as any extra objects that could get in your firing range. Just keep moving counterclockwise to avoid the souls and the rotating spikes. But you do not have to completely circle the room. Just go as far as you need to, while keeping enemies within attacking range. This first part isn't too bad. Usually it's just some slimes and some lumbers. Just use your best weapons you have against them. Personally, I use the Winter Grave in this situation, as I really like the damage that it deals against these slimes. The next part is a mixture of zombies and wolvers. Use a piercing weapon, like the Dark Briar Barrage, to quickly deal damage to the wolvers, and some neutral damage against the zombies. If you need to, try using your pet's abilities here, to either increase the damage that you're dealing, like Dracon's Firestorm, or Masquerade's Hexing Haze, or even use Seraphynx's Heart Attack to increase the rate that hearts drop. Now for this part you have gremlins and lumbers here. Focus on shadow damage here if possible. It's super effective on gremlins, and neutral damage on lumbers. Here I try to take advantage of the fact that gremlins chase you by using the Dark Retribution. Now what I'm doing here is a bit risky, but what's happening is that I'm doing my best to pay attention to what is happening around me, as I'm trying to avoid the pink projectiles that is being launched at me, and seeing how close I am to the rotating spikes, while keeping close enough to attack the enemies. We're almost done, but this one in particular can get rough because there are lumbers and void gels here. It can be tough because of the amount of projectiles that you have to anticipate, while also avoiding the lumbers and everything else that's happening in this room. The best thing that you can possibly do to try to survive this one is be prepared to shield or dash your way out as necessary if you see any enemies or projectiles that are about to hit you. This is where my winter grave can really be of use here. Finally, we got through that. Now for the last part, gremlins and zombies. Break out the Dark Briar Barrage, and have your pets assist you as necessary. And we're done. The door has opened. Let's get out of here. That wasn't too bad, right? And that was Dreams and Nightmares, everybody. It's a great place to farm Radiance because of all the prize boxes that are here. While this cutscene plays, I'll show you that sometimes, with each run, you'll only get like a small handful of Radiance. Or, even sometimes, a large sum of radiance. The amount of radiance you get is random, but it is a pretty good way to farm radiance. If you want to mix up every now and then, after doing several Firestorm Citadel runs, it might not get you as many crowns, or is that great for heating up your weapons, but I feel like the amount of radiance that you can get from this can really make up for that. I hope this video helps out the person that requested that I make another video on Dreams and Nightmares. And if this video helps you out too, let me know in the comments. And that is all I have to share with you for now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching.